following may not necessarily represent the views or opinions of this station, but they're coming around.
What is your major malfunction?
And now, the original pork-eating crusader,
Mr. Tom Claxton.
Although it has received little coverage in the mainstream media, last week saw setbacks for our nation's veterans on a number of fronts. It is probably not a coincidence that these actions came on the heels of the Obama administration's long-awaited and much-heralded announcement that funding for the programs of the VA will not be subject to the across-the-board cuts that will be coming due in the budget compromise and sequestration. Although the decision is largely a hollow one because the VA budget may still be subject to cuts from previous budget acts, leaders of one of the nation's largest veteran service organizations, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, trumpeted the decision as fulfillment of a promise made by Obama. Richard Denoyer, national commander of the VFW, seemed satisfied with the White House announcement, quote, "Disabled veterans can breathe a sigh of relief today knowing that VA programs are exempt from sequestration," he said in a statement. "Protecting the VA is exactly what President Obama told me he would do during a meeting in the Oval Office in March. And now he has come through for America's veterans and survivors." Would you say politicians? It is a great day to be a veterans advocate. I wonder if beer was served during the meeting.
When you need to ratchet down tensions, Old Baraki and Old Baraki Dark. Show them your thirst certificate.
However, I think that Denoyer's comments should be taken in the context of the broader attack on veterans' health care and benefits and illustrates a larger problem that exists within the lobbying arm of most of our veterans service organizations. They, like most in D.C., get lost in the halls of power, become drunk on their perceived influence, and forget who it is that they supposedly represent, our veterans. Reminds me of a quote from a joker who didn't make it to the White House.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
As the vets walk away with a handshake, photo op, and press release to send out along with the dues statements for the membership, the politicians return to doing what they do best, finding new ways to take our hard-earned money, shrink our earned benefits, and tell us what a great job they have done and what a bargain we are getting. Not surprisingly, the first salvo was launched from the left coast, where the complete Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed a decision by its own three-judge panel in a lawsuit filed against the VA by Veterans for Common Sense. As you may recall, the May 2011 ruling had ordered the VA to ensure that suicidal vets are seen immediately and that the VA's unchecked incompetence in handling the flood of PTSDs and other mental health claims was unconstitutional. The new decision said courts are in fact powerless to implement the fixes sought by the veterans groups. Quote, "There can be no doubt that securing exemplary care for our nation's veterans is a moral imperative." Judge J. Bybee wrote for the majority. Does that make him the ringmaster?
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages.
But Congress and the President are in far better position to decide whether and what changes need to be done. The court may have missed that last week. VA Secretary Eric Jasinski told a House committee that VA did not deliberately mislead Congress by testifying that the agency was doing an excellent job in seeing and evaluating veterans seeking mental health counseling. Or maybe they just need some country boy math. Since the VA has previously claimed it saw 95% of veterans who called in or were referred for counseling within 14 days, while an Inspector General's report found that the VA was hitting that mark only 49% of the time, and the average time frame was more like 50 days. What an outstanding performance from the executive branch, to be sure. That is reassuring, considering the remarkable performance Congress is doing in keeping their promise to our veterans, as shown in last week's vote by the House Armed Services Committee to raise drug co-pays for TRICARE beneficiaries and forcing TRICARE for life users, most of them elderly, to reorder all maintenance drugs through mail order. What the hell is that deal? The bill also creates a system of annual increases in the co-pays for both. Committee Chairman Buck McKeon, a Republican from California, is he protected by the Endangered Species Act, who has commented that he would stand firmly against any increases in TRICARE, participated in the bill by unveiling the changes in a chairman's mark. Chairman's Mark. That's not a whiskey, is it? And conceded that the plan was an incremental step. Amazingly, he also said that the bill will protect the sacred covenant between our government and our all-volunteer military, and that the bill also expresses the sense of Congress that retirees paid for the health care benefits through years of service and sacrifice. Kind of sounds like one of those old country songs.
She got the gold mine, I got the shaft.
Yep, that's just what our veterans got. Coincidentally, Rep. McKeon is the recipient of the 2012 VFW Congressional Award, which National Commander Denoyers presented to him, saying, "Our military and veterans, communities of past and present, have no better friend in Congress than Chairman McKeon. Can someone buy this guy a clue? Or maybe he can borrow one from my buddy, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, whose comments on the House bill included, if we're limited in our ability to put military health care costs on a substantial track, then Congress would be making all of this more difficult to invest in new technologies that we believe are critical to the force we need for the future." Genius! What a pure damn genius. Or maybe, if Panetta is serious about saving money, then maybe he should rethink his statement last week about needing billions of dollars over the next several years for Department of Defense initiatives necessary to combat global climate changes, or Navy biofuel, or soccer fields for terrorists. He might also rethink his decision to have the Department of Defense pay for an apartment for him to live in, while a perfectly good house the Department of Defense already has for the Secretary's use sits idle, or stop paid tripping to California to visit the nut farm. Or maybe it is, as my friend the Joker once said, of Washington, D.C.
This town needs an enema.
For the Scuttlebutt Network, this is Tom Claxton.
Where's your drill sergeant, men?
Load up, sir!
Load up, sir!
So am I to understand that you men completed your training on your own?
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
These are exactly the kind of men I want working on the Scuttlebutt Network.
Boom, shakalaka, boom, shakalaka, boom, shakalaka.